The mission of Royal Jordanian, as we defined it several years ago, was to connect Jordan and the Levant with the world. In order for us to do that, at least to connect the Levant with the world, we needed a frequency, multi-frequency flights, as well as needed to reach all secondary airports in the region. This could not have been done using big kind of airplanes, 140, 150 seater and above, because of the limit in the number of passengers that can be generated from these airports. Therefore, we looked at different options to find a regional jet that can fulfill our mission. We looked at the different airplanes and we wanted an aircraft that can be appealing to the customers because they're not used to having very small airplanes in this part of the world, and we tend to find that many of our competitors operating big double aisle aircraft on short distance routes. We opted to do the opposite, and by operating smaller regional jets on these routes and keep the big double aisle aircraft on the medium to long haul destinations. When we looked around, there weren't many options available. There were a lot of turboprop jets, which even though are very economical, very safe, very modern, very new, but in this part of the world, their acceptance level was not up to the standard or up to the level that we would like to have. We did try, and we struggled heavily in convincing the passengers that this is a beautiful airplane and a very safe and reliable aircraft. But when we looked at the Embraer and we saw that it looked like a small 737 or a 320 aircraft, the economics worked well, the aircraft appeal worked well. Therefore, we decided that this would be the right aircraft for Royal Jordanian to fulfill the strategy and the mission that we have laid out for ourselves. And it turned to be quite a successful story. We were the first to introduce the Embraer 195 and 175 in the region, and they have been a huge success with the customers, and we keep hearing that from them. Wow, this was a small airplane, but it really looked and felt like a comfortable and a big kind of an aircraft. We also did not hold back on investing in the setup of the aircraft itself. We have very good seat pitch. We used an all-leather seat kind of feel and look. The business class, we opted for a 1- and 2-seater kind of a setup where there is a nice foot recline and the seat pitch between the seats, and the recline itself was very comfortable. Even though these flights are being used on a maximum of maybe 2.5 or 3 hour flight, yet we wanted to make it a very comfortable experience for our passengers. Yes, it has. It has, because I have gone into a process of increasing frequencies. And this is one of our major objectives, is that I don't want to have a destination that I serve once a week or twice a week or 3 times a week. I want destinations that I serve once every day, or 2 or 3 or 4 flights a day. And this is something that we as RJ created in this part of the Levant. Usually it used to be a daily flight to Beirut or a daily flight to Cairo or Damascus. Now I have 4 flights a day to these destinations. And people who used to go on Wednesday and have to come back on Thursday can go on Wednesday and come back on Wednesday, and decide that they want to go and have lunch in Beirut and have a meeting and come back, rather than to go and check in hotels and in and out. This has really enlarged the pie and made it more attractive for people to travel more easily. Choosing the regional jets made it more easy for us to be able to offer these multi-frequency flights. And if I had to continue doing those multi-frequency with bigger airplanes, with 140, 150 or 200-seater airplanes, it would be a very expensive venture for us. And we will not be able to have the seat factor that we do have right now using the smaller jets in this part of the world. We noticed that during the past decade, whether it is the class of service they're flying on, in the old days it was F and Y. Now you have 24 digits or letters that you can book on. And we noticed that passengers now demand that, do you have an H class available or do you have a V class available? And this was really, it was a shocker for us that people are realizing that there are different classes and RBDs on different flights. And yes, many people ask and see, what aircraft are you flying today to this destination? And they can go on the internet and they can surf the net and see the layout of the aircraft and see the kind of seats they want. That's why on our internet we make sure that everything that they want to find out about that flight is available, so they can decide that they want to sit on seat number 14B or 16C and so on. And passengers have become very, very picky and demand more now from the airlines and the travel industry in general, because they become more educated. We can no longer underestimate the passenger, and we really cannot look to assume that they will not realize. No, they do realize, and they know what to expect, and they demand it even more. In the old days, it was as long as you took me out on Tuesday and landed on Wednesday, that's fine. Now you have to leave on time and arrive on time and make sure that everything that you promised me is delivered. And that's good. That puts a lot of pressure on us, but I think this is due to the sophistication of the travelers nowadays. People do and are willing to pay a bit more to go on a better airline and get the better service that that airline is promising. Yes, we price ourselves according to the level of service or the convenience, let's put it that way, that I provide the customers. And we know for a fact that people maybe don't want to fly on a 3 o'clock in the morning flight and are willing to pay another 15, 20, 30% more to leave on a 10 o'clock morning flight rather than the 3 o'clock evening flight. But then you still have this passenger who would like to save a few dollars or euros here and there, and that's acceptable. But in general, in this part of the world, the pie is constantly growing. The Middle East and the Gulf region is definitely an area of growth. It's higher than anywhere else in the world, primarily because we're starting at a lower base. So we're still growing, and there's a room for growth, and the population is growing. The young population is growing, and the demand for travel is growing. And that's why we believe that passengers will continue to demand more of us and demand from the airline industry to grow so that they can satisfy their travel needs.